Welcome everyone to this session for SplashScreen, which is introduced in Android 12. So we will see the what it brings for Android developers and how we can use it and customize it. Before it, a little bit intro about myself. My name is Nav. I'm from Montreal and organizer at GDG Montreal and working as a software engineer at Manulife. Apart from that, I'm also a Google developer expert for Android and writing articles and giving talks on different events like DevFest or monthly meetups. So let's get started with the SplashScreen API. So what this basically is like in Android 12, it adds the new API, and for all the applications, this splash screen will be like the consistent behavior for all of them, and it's not something can be avoidable. Like it's at a platform level added to all the applications, and it's basically including the launch motion from where splash screen will show up for until the first frame is drawn of the application, and then from there the application will start. And the important thing is like we are not just supporting only Android 12. So if you are supporting older versions, for that you need to make sure that you are using the splash screen from the Compat library, which provides the support for older versions. And let's see what's next. So how splash screen basically works, it shows the splash screen using the themes and animations that we have defined. Basically not defined by us. Some like it has two animations we will cover in next. So it's basically using the theme. You can define the properties in your theme and then go from there. So when the app is ready, splash screen is dismissed, as I told you earlier. Like on the first frame, when the first frame is get drawn, it will be go away. And important thing to note is like it will not be shown during the whole start. So if user push the application to the background, it will not be shown in that. Like in that case, when user open it from there, it's shown during the very first initial starts when application started from the very you can say from scratch. It has four major elements. If you see in the image that are marked as 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first one is the app icon. It can be customizable. Everything like in all these properties can be customizable. We will discuss it in the next slides. So the first thing is the application icon, which is in the center. For example, this is the Gmail. The second is the background. For that icon, so you can also define the background. Then the foreground color, which is the third component. And the fourth one is the window background, which is the entire screen of your splash screen. You can provide the different color for that too. And if you are not provided that, the window background color, it will take the default window background color from the application. Splash screen animation, as I told you, like it consists of two animations. The first one is the enter animation, and the second one is the exit animation. So what it basically do is like in the enter animation, it's you can say it's not in our control, it's not in our hands. So it's the like the default standard animation for all the splash screens. But for the exit animation, it can be customizable, and when the splash screen goes away from the application. So it's basically when application actually shows its first main screen after a splash screen. So now we will see how we can customize the splash screen. So as I told you, like it uses the window background from the theme and the launcher icon by default. The first component, which is like in case of Gmail, you see the Gmail icon there. And there are various options how we can customize it. So the first thing is like we can customize the theme attributes to change it the appearance. The second is like we can also keep it for a longer period on the screen. Otherwise, it will just go away as soon as the first like the draw call is triggered to the first frame of application. And the last one is like customizing the exit animation. So there are the possible ways how we can customize it. So how we can change the background color. So if you see here, it's the property called Windows Splash Screen Background. You can it's only available for API versions Android and 12 or higher. So what it does is like you need to define your theme specifically for V12, like whichever API is it. It's I think 32 or 31. So you define your theme and you can add this property into your theme and then provide any color that you want to use for the background color. And if you want to customize the icon, the property is called Windows splash screen animated icon. So it's not just like a static drawable. You can also use the animated icons for the splash screen icon that is shown in the middle of the screen, and you can provide the reference using like drawables if you have that defined in your drawable resources. Um, By default, the animation duration for the splash screen is 1000 for if you are having the animated icon, and its default duration is 1000. But if you want to customize it, you can add the property called Windows splash screen animation duration, and you can provide your value. But the recommendation is like the max value is 1000. So if you want to finish it early, like you want to provide a quick animation, you can set it below 500, like maybe 500, 200, whatever value you want, but max is 1000. The fourth property that we can use is like Windows splash screen icon background color. So if you want to have want to add a custom background icon for your color, for your icon, you can use this property called splash screen icon background color, and then you can provide the color value by maybe using the resources from your colors, or you can also provide like if you have a hard coded color value, you can specify that in your themes. These are the properties that you can add it into your theme for Android 12 or higher. And the fifth component, which is not shown in the very first slide, is basically the branding image. So what it does is like it shows the branding image at the bottom of the screen of a splash screen. So in the middle, it's the application logo, and you can customize that. I already explained. But if you want to add that branding image, by default it will be not there. But if you want to add that, you can add using this by using this property like Windows splash screen branding image, and you can define your drawable there. And very important thing is like if we want to keep the splash screen on screen for longer periods, if you are already familiar, for example, let's say you have some you are waiting for something loading from the network, or you want to set up the user's preferences like settings or whatever in your application before actually loading the main page or main UI components of your application. You can you can customize that behavior, like you can show the splash screen until all the things are set up and you are good to go. By how we can do that is like we can use the view tree observer dot pre-draw listener, and what it does is like this will be triggered when the call to the first frame is triggered by the like to the system, like hey, draw the frame first, like the frames like first draw my application content. So you can use this method and override that method and go from there and dismiss the splash screen based on your requirements. So here is the sample code of the pre-draw listener. What we try to do is here is like on pre-draw method, which is we need to override. It's a boolean, and we need to, let's say for example in this case I have say like view model dot is ready. So if I have a view model and I have a property called is ready, so I'm keep checking that value. So if when that value is like it's true, I will return the true and remove this pre-draw listener, and splash screen goes away from that point. And in the else part, we can just keep waiting for like keep pushing the pre-draw to the later point of in future to make sure that we have everything set up for us. This is just the sample. In your case or in other applications, it might be like fetching data or setting up some branding of your application, all that kind of stuff. So you can set all the properties or make sure that you have whatever is must required before actually showing your application content to the user. You can do by the doing this, and you can keep showing the splash screen of your application. And the last thing is like how we can customize the exit animation for dismissing the splash screen. As I told you earlier, like we don't have an option to customize the entry animation, but using there is a new function introduced on the activity which is called get splash screen. So using this, we can customize the exit animation and add our own animation. But in this case, we need to make sure that we remove the splash screen. It's like we need to call manually when our animation is finished. We need to make sure that we don't forget to call the this remove splash screen by manually. I will show in code sample in next slide. So this is basically the callback as which is like set on exit animation listener. So if you see here, I have created a custom animation and set the interpolator on that animation, which is like slide up. And I set the duration to the 200. Um, and then if you see, the very important call is like remove. So this makes sure that when your animation is finished, your custom animation is finished, you remove the splash screen view. And from the splash screen view is basically accessible via via this function, which is set on exit animation listener. It provide access to that view, and we can use that. And also when we try to add a custom animation, it's our responsibility to call the start animation. So the first thing is like we need to set the exit animation listener, then we create our own animation that we want to add, and then we need to call to start that, and then also add a callback on the end whenever the animation is finished to remove the view from screen so that our application's content is easily like there is a smooth transition from splash screen to the application's content. So this is the very basics of splash screen. So I hope you have learned something in this small talk. And here are the couple of references that you can follow to learn more about it. There is a the first one is my Medium article that you can check about it. And then there is also a migration guide. Like if you have custom splash screens in your application, you can also migrate those to the new, this standard splash screen. And you can support for older versions too by using the Compat library. So thank you everyone for your time. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I will stop sharing. Thank you.